Welcome back, everybody, to the 150cc solo circuit finals. My name is Knight here, and I'm joined alongside the prestigious Sketch. Sketch is going to be joining us here for this one. See what I did there?
Yeah,
But
I like your pun.
yeah, so we're getting going into things. It looks like right now this player is joining in off of Boshi. I'm not even sure who we're following at the moment, but
Oh, I think it's
Stevens.
Stevens from
Okay,
Arcadia. Yeah.
sweet. So we're gonna have his point of view for this one. So looking forward to this match in particular.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I didn't really get to stay that much for the first round, but I think did you guys watch Cudge, I think, playing it?
Yeah, let's do a quick recap of that first one. So we
Yeah.
we, we started off with Kaj, and then basically there were 10 players that started, one kind of left partway through, and then Kaj clutched it out on DP3, the 12th race, to advance in over, I believe it was Impo and Ruskov. So something to kind of make note there. But it was very, very clutch performance by him. So we're going to be seeing him later on. And yeah, and in this one, we're going to have Seabass, Christian MK, Boshi, Colchinetta, I believe it's Nikan, Stevens, who we're going to be following as well. And then it's going to be Ijai, El Paco, Azusa, Audi, Zwax, and Foxeye as
Okay,
well
that
too.
seems like
So
a pretty good room. Hopefully all 12 people show up this time, so we have more of a interesting match. But it's from the looks of it in general, it seems like a pretty strong room. So I think Seabass is pretty known just in general for being a good player, I guess, like both online and in time trials. I think he got a world record once on Retro Mario Circuit or something. And he plays with me and my team, Prestige, where he does pretty well. And then other players like Stevens, who are watching now, is from Arcadia, and they're one of the better teams as well. And Stevens tends to do pretty good in these types of tournaments. I'm not too sure about a lot of the other players who are playing. I heard you mention some names that I kind of hear about in Lounge a bit. So, in any case, all of these players are very active in general. So, I think it's overall going to be a pretty strong room and fun FFA to watch for sure.
yeah, I know that's Wax and Jai. Those guys for sure did the 200cc tournament last week. You mentioned Stevens and Seabass, and I know Boshi is from the Blizzard Pirates of oh man, is it Duisburg? The POD system.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Azusa,
yeah.
there's from After Dark, Opaco from Horizon, and that's just kind of what I'm knowing off the top of my head. But if anyone in the chat, wants to embellish on that a little bit, let us know. But it's going to be kind of unique just because there's players from a lot of different countries. They want to prove their point. They want to join the six that they just saw the past hour ago make it into the semifinals. And the crazy part is actually before they even get to the semifinals, they have to go through quarterfinals. So there's two whole rounds of the gauntlet that you're going to have to work your way through.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely a lot of pressure on all these players to get it to that final 12 for sure. And I think once we get to our final 12, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, but is it 24 races is the finals? Or it's more than 12
It
races, isn't
is.
it?
Yeah, so it goes from 12 races, what we're doing now. Quarterfinals coming up are going to be 12 races. The semifinals coming up at roughly around 3 Eastern. It's going to be 16 races. And then the finals starting at approximately 5:30 p.m. Eastern in a little bit, 24 races. So it's going to be
That's
pretty wild.
crazy. But I find that pretty interesting though, because that kind of gives us a pretty big sample size for individual players' points. So it kind of makes it more representative of like the skill gap between placements, I think, in the end. So after 24 races, if you're still in first place, it's like pretty good evidence that you're one of the better players in the rooms, I think. Rather than sometimes just 12 races or even 8 races doesn't really give players enough time to either kind of get off of a bad luck streak or show what they can actually do. So I think it's cool kind of having that many races to kind of give us a bigger sample size to see that skill gap between players for sure.
Yeah, and on top of that, you got to look at it. I think we're starting the room here, but you got to look at it from the track side of things as well, because in these first two rounds, doing 12 races, we're going to see we are going to see a quarter of the tracks, assuming that there are no repicks. And then as you go up through the ranks and you ultimately get to the finals, you're going to be playing half the tracks. And I remember when we were watching the 200cc solo circuit, there were players that were nervous about repicking because of the fact that you
Oh
got to
yeah.
take a note of all 24 races. So they're going to go through like half the catalog of tracks. So it's really also going to show you who is really dominant not only off of their favorite tracks, but across the majority of the tracks that we have available.
If I was one of them, I'd need some sort of like notepad and write down all the tracks just to make sure that I don't kind of get mixed up between rounds and everything when tracks are being picked. But regardless, we are starting with Mario Kart Stadium, which is a classic 8D track. Not really one you see picked that much in wars in general. I know some teams like high definition sometimes like to pick it, but in general, you don't really see it picked that much. Uh, but in my opinion, I consider this more of a bagging heavy track, especially in lower tier or like lower level format. As in, like when I say lower level, I mean like FFA 2v2, 3v3. So like in FFA, I feel like bagging is super good here because of all the shortcuts and everything. But regardless, we can go ahead and pay attention to Stevens now, I guess, and what he's trying to do. But he's not necessarily opting for that bagging strategy, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. He's just chilling in the middle with his two shrooms. But we do see, that Roy, who's all the way back there, already trying to get triple shroom star, presumably.
Yeah, I didn't catch before we went in if we started with 11 players or if we were able to get to that full 12. But yeah, Stevens hopefully has a better trip around this turn here going into this Nisk. Obviously, he might not even need to do the Nisk because he has the shrooms, but
Yeah, he's set
doesn't
up
get
pretty
held
well
up.
with those triple shrooms for sure right now. Able to pass a lot of people just taking that shroom cut, barely avoiding
Oh,
that bomb.
that was wild. Yeah, narrowly avoids the bomb, passes Azusa, and hits another
Oh,
player there with the boomerang.
he's
But
in a
they got to be
great position right
careful.
now with that blue coming up in second. And the thing with the blue shells is like I don't think it's physically possible for another blue to be. Oh, that's unfortunate. But I don't think it's possible for another blue to be pulled for at least 30 seconds. I think so. This is kind of a safe time to kind of make your way into first place. But Stevens is kind of getting Mario Karted at the moment, where he was set up pretty well, but getting redded twice in a row, rather unfortunately. Able to get a star though, which is pretty good. Kind of giving him invincibility to a potential shock. Deciding to get rid of that boomerang and getting probably the best pull he could have gotten there with triple shrooms and stars. Shrooming up. If he gets triple shrooms here, he should do the glider strat, but he gets a star just fine, and he gets a conservative, I believe, sixth place, able to avoid that bomb. So not too bad of a start for Stevens here. Great items towards the end with his triple shrooms and stars, just giving him invincibility from pretty much the last half of that lap.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's super beneficial too, just considering you saw like there were two players there at the very tail end, like Audi and Fox, that had the red shells and then the bomb coming into play. So, might not be the shrooms, but hey, you're invincible and
yeah,
you kind
exactly.
of guarantee to at least maintain whatever position you're in.
Exactly. We see Niken getting a first place, which is very good. Seabass, who's probably the favorite, coming in fourth. I didn't pay attention too much to the bottom spots there, but great start for Niken for sure. But we see Stevens going for the Sweet Canyon pick. But track picks in general, to be honest, in FFA, I don't think you can really pick for your spot like that well. I feel like FFA has more RNG to it, I guess, or more of like a random aspect than 6v6 or 4v4, just because you don't have any teammates, so more items tend to be used more often and less conservatively, I guess I would say.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
it's like you have an 8.25% chance of having your track selected, so you got to bank on it
yeah,
not. And if it is,
yeah,
that's just an added cherry on the top, so to speak.
exactly. Was he using Wario before? I thought I saw a different character.
He
Oh
wasn't
wait,
Wario before, I don't believe. Oh no, he was. He was.
no,
He
he
was.
was. I don't know why I thought he was a Roy. That just tripped me out for a second. That was weird.
Yeah,
But anyway,
there were a ton of
yeah,
Roys before, so I'm glad we're getting a little bit of variety.
yeah, exactly. But Niken able to hold out first on Electrodrome, which is kind of a difficult task, to be honest, because of the drafting aspect to the beginning. Holding first is pretty difficult. But we see Stevens going in with that classic 8 Deluxe double red strategy into a box where he's able to confirm that Niken doesn't have any protection and kind of drifting his way all the way back into third with Foxeye and Audi taking cut to get top two with a blue shell already being used, that classic FFA lap 2 blue shell. Uh,
You hate
but
to see it, but I think that
yeah, you
takes
do.
out Fox Eye. So now
Yeah,
it's going to put Audi there into a battle for the lead with another player, and that's going to be Seabass.
exactly. And I think in general, just being in first in FFA without having any item to dodge the blue is just such a risky move. Like when I play FFA and I find myself in first lap 1 or 2, and a blue shell hasn't been thrown in a while, I tend to either take a step back and get into second, or if I have something to dodge it, I kind of stay in first. But
Yeah, that's
yeah,
totally true. I mean, I do weekly FFAs, and I purposely stay in second and third. And you'll notice some of the guys. There's a really solid free agent in Vegas named Samuel and Kyret who does some FFAs on here and is MPH that they'll always kind of stalk and wait in second and third because you got to expect that blue shell. So unless you obviously have a shroom or the horn, there's no way you're going to really be getting out of that.
exactly. And we see Niken kind of taking on that strategy. Even though he has triple reds, he's not throwing them at all at Seabass because there's no point. He's going to save those triple reds till the very end. But Seabass hitting, I think, Niken back there. He gets knocked out in second. Stevens is able to avoid that bomb in the end. Seabass is still in second. I'm not sure who that Roy is in first. I thought that was Seabass the whole time. Stevens clutching that third place with the shroom in the end. Could have been very bad if that bomb had any contact on him. Audi securing that first place. Niken, conservative fifth place, holding on to that first place overall, 23 points. Stevens still maintaining that top six, which is kind of what you want to do. And I say this all the time in FFAs, you shouldn't really play for first place anyways. It's all about being consistent. So if you get a top four spot every race, you're more likely to MVP than someone who's trying to stay in first or play for first every race, because I feel like the risk reward is so much worse when you're trying to play for first every race. I think it's so much more optimal, I'd say, to play for second or third rather than get a bit too risky in your play style in general to secure a first place. So I think that like a good FFA player kind of knows that strategy where playing for first place isn't necessarily the best thing to do.
That's 100% true. And when I was in the JDRF FFA, I was personally playing for six, and it kind of helped and hurt me a little bit because I was solely focused on the players I knew I need to beat. And the ironic thing was that was one of my teammates that I usually never beat, that I somehow was just lucky enough to be in the same orbit as him in that event. But the other problem is you get a little bit too tunnel visioned. You can make mistakes, even have some bad luck, just immediately take you out of things. But it is a good strategy, though, because your consistency, obviously you want to go for the win, but you want to play conservative. You want to play smart because realistically, it doesn't matter if you're first here. If you're just top six, you're getting the same reward, the same prize as everybody else that makes it.
Exactly. Anyways, we're off to our next track, Royal Raceway. Personally, one of my more favorite tracks, I guess. I kind of like the item strategy aspect to it. But we see Stevens kind of going ahead and attempting to get coins, but I feel like in the pack right now, it's going to be hard to get any at all. Hopefully he snags this double here and gets some sort of mushroom to take the next cut. But I think my strategy here in general, especially in FFA, is to kind of bag, well, not necessarily bag, but kind of play in the back at the beginning, get some coins, get my 10 coins, and then get triple shrooms and stars. And then what I really like to do is chain the triple shrooms at the set he just passed and have my star in first slot with a good item in my second slot, and then chain the star up here at first set. And I think a lot of players tend to like just chain their items every single possible chance they can and chain the star before the finish line, before this set here. And it's not as, I guess, optimal as, using the star, taking all these shortcuts and being up in like third or fourth with like another set of triple shrooms and stars or something. And I think that's kind of a popular strategy in general, and I think you'll see a lot of players in this room attempting to do that. But just as equally, what Stevens is doing right now, holding two shrooms in third, is just as good. It's just more of detrimental, I guess, if the shock does come in the end.
How he did not get trailed a second ago there by, I believe, Christian a couple turns ago, I do not know.
Yeah, that was kind of lucky, I guess.
Yeah, but no, that's totally true. I mean, you can save a lot of time. It gets that red shell behind him just in case there's another one coming in that's going to hit. Unfortunately,
very unfortunate situation for Stevens with that red shell going to lap 3 because there's not much opportunity to get good items to catch up. He kind of has to go straight forward as fast as he can. But I think he's reached the point where he's in the pack with not necessarily the best items in the world, so it's going to be hard for him to get back up there. This box is going to be so important. He gets the double, but that red is extremely unfortunate.
It is. He's all the way back to last, and it is a full room of 12. So this is going to be very interesting in terms of the top 6 implications here going forward. But can avoid some carnage here and the collateral damage of some of the others. And as he gets around him, he might get a star here. He does.
Yeah, I'm glad he went for that box. I'm glad he went for it because so many people would just hold the golden to take the whole golden cut and then just get hit at the end. So that's better than getting last. I think going for that box secured him not getting last. So
for sure. And that lessened the blow a little bit. He gets 10th. He's now in 8th, but still very close in terms of scores right now. So nothing really too much to be concerned of at this point.
For sure. Niken's still securing that first place overall with 33 points. So great performance from him, for sure. But but we're already going into race 4, I believe. So we're almost a third of the way there for the second or first round, I guess, of the FFA.
It's a
So
little bit spread out like right now, and I think it's Ajay that's there in that 6th position. He's 1 point ahead of 7th, and I think Stevens is another 1 or 2 off from 7th as well, or 2 off total from 6th. So it's a little bit spread out right now, but not really too much. And I think that if we see something crazy happen where like Niken and some of the guys at the top have a bad race and somehow this like inverts, you're going to see this get a lot closer.
yeah, for sure. Just the last place from Niken and the first place from Colchinet or Foxeye can completely switch the individual scores around for sure.
Yeah, I think if you're Zwax, Foxeye, or Colchinetta, you got to be getting some good races at this point going into the tail end of this first half, or focus on this upcoming GP coming up, because this is where, like, for them, the separation is really going to be a little bit more pivotal here. And yeah, seeing a couple maybe different character changes here, but nonetheless, Stevens are rocking out Wario here on the Scooty with the red rollers. Staying in 5th. Opts to take the ledge, does get a second item. He's behind Zwax right now, and probably isn't going to use the shroom here just yet. Yeah, he's probably going to chain it, but be
Yeah,
curious to see
if
what
I
happens.
was him, I just not even go for this double here. I just hold this to the shortcut. But unfortunately, first place back spams, which is honestly kind of smart, anyways. But he does get really good items here. Oh no!
Oh, he doesn't clear it. He doesn't
know
clear
it.
the trolley.
I know what he was trying to do, but it was kind of risky to be honest.
Yeah, especially when there's another player alongside of him as well.
Yeah, he was set up pretty well with those triple greens because having any sort of revolving triple items like that in FFA is great just for defense in general, especially in the higher spot. But regardless, we see Stevens back here holding the star, which isn't bad either. He can catch up pretty easily, for
My
sure.
heart rate went up too when that.
That green.
Oh,
And
he got the
pulled a
shock secondary, but that green
is a
skill was
great
backfiring. It raised my heart rate a little bit, but now he's in a really interesting
I'm
position
nervous.
here.
He needs to chain it here regardless. I'm nervous someone else is going to pull it. He needs to chain it at this double right now. Yep, that is honestly the best thing he could have done at the moment. Catching up with shocking 6 or 7 people after that set. Getting another pull at that box. That is huge IQ
and it's
by
a
Stevens.
bullet and a star. And the best part about him chaining that is no one really could have seen it. So no one could really have anticipated, and nobody else dodged. Which in a free for all, if you're the only one getting that
use the bell.
advantage,
okay, sorry.
It's huge. No, you're good. He's using the bull right now. Let's see what happens.
He's building up. That's a great place to use it because it's going to try to take him to first, except it kind of stopped early anyways. I think if he plays his cards right, he can chain the start the double, get something, and hopefully pull off at least second. I don't know if first is necessarily viable right now. He does chain the star. Let's see what he gets. Triple bananas. That's pretty good. He can maybe get a snipe off Ejai. Misses barely.
Maybe.
Hold that. He should have held that banana.
He's going to take this cut here.
Oh, he barely avoids the backspin by Ejai, and he still gets second.
Very solid race there by Stevens, though. Great use of that shock for sure.
I think he used his items very well. I think getting hit by the fire with his bow was unfortunate, but it was his best bet just using the bow right after he got hit there to catch back up since it was lap 3, and time was definitely of the essence there. I think every other item he used was pretty much played as well as he could. If he got that banana snipe on Ejai, he could have secured a very, very flexy first place there, maybe a potential Twitter clip. But in the end, he still maintains that second place with that mushroom.
There's a 3-point gap now between 6th and 7th. I believe it's like 30 to 27 points, and I believe it's El Paco over Christian at the moment. But now we're starting to see, obviously, as we're going into more races, naturally the spacing kind of progress here. But I think the biggest thing that happened that race as well is we're seeing some Baby Park come in early. Okay, is that we're seeing we saw Zwax and we saw Colchinetta get, I believe, 3 and 4 or 2 and 3. So those were good top spots for them to kind of get themselves cemented back into the picture.
For sure. Other than the Baby Park tracks, we see pretty standard track picks, I think. Steven's getting his Dolphin Shoals pick here. Maybe he can get a draft off of first, but it's kind of less likely, I feel, to get a draft if you're just in second, because you're so close to first place, and first place could get a bad start, burn out, or drift randomly either left or right to prevent you getting a draft. So we'll see how this goes in his favor. Hopefully it goes as intended.
It looks like he did. And the interesting thing now is going to be is, are you going to opt to bag here and maybe go for the bullet extension, or are you going to try and run this and try to, outlast and outsmart everybody here? I personally like to bag on this one. We're seeing potentially someone back there right now trying to bag one of the Waluigi characters. So something to make note of here. But it looks like Stevens, though, is trying to maintain his position here at the front.
I feel like you can do either, to be honest. Like an FFA, obviously, you kind of want to stay away from first, as we discussed earlier. But I feel like you definitely can run this in FFA. Azusa getting clapped by the green through the shortcut. That was pretty cool. One of the smart bounce.
Yeah, that was
greens.
pretty wild. And just
he tried
trying
backing that green, which is kind of questionable considering Stevens could have had a red in pocket and he could have gotten hit in the end. He's very back spammy today. He's really throwing everything he's got. But he does get a hit on him finally. Ejai getting a mini breakaway from that. Stevens unfortunately missing that double set that I think he was trying to go for. We might see some bills coming up at the eel or being held until the finish line, I think is usually when people use it. But that's another good thing to talk about is the bell on this track. People can screw up so much using the bell on this track, just like in general. Because I feel like people get the bell lap 1, they're like, oh, I have to use this lap 2 right at the finish line at the bell spot to catch up. But I think the best play, regardless of how far behind you are, is just if you can hold the bell until lap 3. Because, you're preventing other players from getting the bell if you're holding it and farming it. And especially in FFA, everyone's getting hit in the front anyways. So holding that bell is probably, in your best favor until lap 3 rather than just using it lap 2.
Yeah, that's a really good point because it's that fun game of, yes, I know I'm in like last or in the back, and I know that naturally I'm going to be gaining a little bit of distance without using an item because everyone's going to be getting clapped. So you got to find that fine line between knowing how much the distance is going to shrink and then also realizing, okay, if I use the bullet exploit here, how is that going to bring me back? But looks like Stevens is mired in a ton of traffic right now. Takes the star going up. Is he going to get Christian at the line? He does not.
I'm so bad. I thought that entire lap was lap 2 the entire time. I was behind quite a bit. But regardless, that was lap 3, and he still gets a 7th place there. Seabass getting first, I think. Is he first overall now? So Seabass overtakes Audi for first place overall with 49 points. Second place with 47 points, and third place with 40 points. Stevens still maintaining top 6 overall, which is kind of where he wants to be right now, and kind of maintain throughout the rest of the last 5 or 6 races I think we have.
Yeah, I believe so. I kind of missed all the scores there. I was trying to refresh the stream and I
it's no
pressed
worries
disconnect and I left the call. So fun stuff. But yeah, I mean, that was what, 5 or 6? I think was what we were saying.
I think so. It might have been 5 or 6 because first place only has 49, and usually after 6 you kind of see someone on pace for over 100, which is around the 50-point range. So it could very well be the 5th or the 6th race. So we're going into the 6th or the 7th one. I should be keeping track more of this.
I was just noticeably like 10 seconds behind you, so I had to refresh. But
it's okay. No worries.
Something happened to mine where it's Vegas internet and it froze. But yeah, this is race 6. So going into DKJ, Stevens there's got a pretty interesting starting spot because he's going to not get too dinged up, I think, going into his first
he
set
should
of
go
turns.
for the farthest right box because that one always lags and it's always available no matter what. Okay, never mind. I was wrong. But a lot of the time that right box lags so much where like 3 or 4 people can just get it, and like in wars and everything, I always go for that right box because it has the highest probability of still being available. Like after the first 5 or 6 or even 7 or 8 people pass it. But regardless, Stevens pulls that trigger to take the shortcut kind of off the bat in a pretty good position. I think he's going to want to chain this to get some sort of more offensive item like a he isn't able to get it
but
there.
it got booed and he went for the single, so just gets the red.
Which is fine. The red should be sufficient for, I think, what he wants to do right now. He doesn't really need to be anywhere else other than where he is right now in second. Just going to hold that red. Seabass kind of taking almost the bait there. But I'm not sure why Stevens even threw that red because now he has no item to protect himself whatsoever. Seabass is itemless, but that isn't really... The blue shell comes, so Seabass is able to stop very quickly. Good on him.
I don't know if Colchonetta was able to realize what was going on and gets hit. I think a few other players got hit in the crossfire as well. But yeah, that's a unique strategy. And it's one that I always debate with too. If I'm in second and I have the shell and I know that the other player just opened himself up and I know he has nothing secondary, but then, that gives the door open to third place to come right back in and wreck you as well. So It's a really tough game to play. But yeah, once you do a lot more free for alls, it's a little bit more beneficial. I ended up getting a win just off of that similar situation last week. But you got to navigate that with the fine line in a free for all for sure.
For sure. And we see Colt Janela up here in second, who I think has been. Oh, he gets bombed! I spoke too soon.
Oh, Caster Curse.
I know Caster Curse, but I know Coach Janela was kind of more behind overall in points, so being up there was a great opportunity for him to catch up. But unfortunately, gets that bomb. Steven's getting a very scary glider strat there, where he almost kind of choked a bit. Doesn't really matter regardless. I think he's in a very good spot to hold on to second place. Shock is chained here, but I think.
Oh, and the blue shell's coming in.
That's going to reach Seabass. He's going to get hit on the line, I think. Oh,
There's
no, does he pass? He passes.
I think he narrowly passed.
Half a second to spare. Stevens maintaining second place, which is very, very good.
Yeah, there were at least 3 different dodges there, coming a lot from the Roys, like Christian and Audi, and that sends Colchinetta back to, like, I believe that was 8th, 7th or 8th? 9th. Oh, no, he's 9th overall. Yeah, 9th overall. So what a wild finish. And at least, for Stevens, he was able to hang on there to second place.
For sure. And we're pretty close to top 6 now. I know 6th place is tied at the moment with 49 points, I think. I forget who the two were who were tied, but regardless, top 6 is definitely still up for grabs with our 5 races remaining. So it will be interesting to see how everything plays out. But Seabass was in first overall before that race, and he got first place. So I think he's starting to break away a bit. So he's kind of building a more like comfort zone or like insurance for him to not do as well these upcoming races and still claim his spot in the next round.
Yeah, this is a great pick for those up at the front. Yeah, Seabass there with 64, and I believe it's Stevens, or no, that's going to be Audi there trailing with 9 points back there in second, but Stevens with 50, also looking pretty safe at this point as well.
For sure. And this is kind of a great like track to play in FFA when you're top spot because there's only 2 item sets. So, if you're up there, it's pretty easy to stay up there, given there's only 2 opportunities to get items. But unfortunately, he gets a first place box, which isn't great. Audi getting probably the best thing he could have gotten. He's able to take the cut right away in second, get into first, and hopefully get a double box. I think 3 or 4 people are able to take the cut there as well.
Yeah, and what's so crazy I like about this track again is that since you just have that item box right there around that corner, you have so much time until you hit this item box here coming up after the first turn, or at the first turn for that matter. You got to be really smart with how you're going to utilize whatever you have, because that's going to decide the race here.
Exactly. I think Steven has decent items right now. Fire is kind of a good offensive item to have to kind of deter players away from you, but he has this shroom to be able to take the cut. But honestly, that shortcut is failed so much more often than you would expect. But I think it's just because it's way harder than it looks. Like, failing that shortcut can be so detrimental because of that bump at the beginning. So you kind of have to know how to drift over it properly to get it. But, like, even the best players fail that, from time to time. So it's a way harder shortcut than I think people even think it would be. But Steven's kind of come up with these shrooms right now. He's able to save 1 for the shortcut here, I think. Taking a conservative cut, which is sensible with his triple reds trailing. Barely avoids the bomb.
Blue shell coming in.
So many things are happening right now. You can't talk about everything that's happening, but this is a very, what's the word? Typical lap 3 in Mario Kart.
Christian's got the fire and the piranha plant from before.
Christian having that bring me down with you kind of play style there where he knows he's going to get bad spots, so he's going to bring down anybody else he can with him. Steven's getting last place, which is not good for trying to stay in top 6. Points are definitely a lot closer now between the top 6 by just 2 points between 4th and 6th. Nike getting first place.
I literally just thought of the best idea for a meme in that situation. Yeah, it's a 4-point difference, 49 to 45. There's a song by Enya that says, "I will go down with this ship." And you could have literally saw it there. And it's frustrating because when Stevens had that fire, the most ideal place, in my opinion, granted, I do a tier D all the time, so it might be good or not, but to spam that fire off would have probably been after that second box and after that turn where it kind of opens up and you can either go over the little berms or you can go over the boosts, because there's a lot of players that are going to take that left going to the finish line pretty early. I ended up in my tournament last week being in second place, getting wrecked by fire there, going all the way back to 11th as I was trying to kind of cut in hard left on that turn. So something to kind of keep in mind. And then Christian did a phenomenal job, not only with that red coming in, and I think it was Stevens that redded Christian, but then back spamming him with the fire and taking him down was pretty phenomenal to see. Despite at that point, it was a battle for 11.
For sure. But anyways, we're kind of going into Super Bowl Subway now, which is interesting track to say the least. It's not one of my favorite tracks, just because it's dependent on like getting a star and chaining it last set through the shortcut and dodging the shock. But it is a lot of item strategy, I think, more than it is driving for sure.
Yeah, it definitely requires a little bit of brawn, but a lot more brains on this one. And now Stevens does have the star, followed up by 3 Shroom secondary. It's going to chain the star here. So, and chain the Shroom. Smart idea. Very good move by him. Does have a boo and then another mushroom secondary. So this will be pretty unique. He'll be able to get around whatever.
Yeah, I'm not sure about his decisions right now. He's just using that boo to be invisible for 10 seconds when shock is definitely not going to happen, and only getting a red and shroom after that. So he's in probably one of the worst spots he can be right now in the pack. And fourth, where he's kind of in that, I call it the triple shroom, single shroom trap, where your items are mostly going to be just like items that aren't great. So I think that blue hitting him actually helps him more than he thinks, because now he can get a good double here and potentially dodge a shock, or chain a star up at this first set. Gets shocked after boxes. That is a great shock. That is actually a freaking amazing shock by whoever used that, because he shocked literally the entire room after that set, able to chain his shock into a box. And now whoever used that's probably going to get a good spot. Stevens still has the opportunity to catch up, given there's a few boxes left. For sure.
That was for sure like premeditated second-degree shock usage there. Very well done. And but I will say this. I liked how he used the boo, just because he kind of, there were 3 players around him with different types of shells. So just for his security, he used it. Oh, but another shock comes in, and there's at least a dodge coming in as well. And oh man, my screen is like, can't process at all.
My screen's lagging as well. I'm not sure if that was a second shock that was pulled. It might have been 30 seconds. But someone might have dodged the shock, but I think it might have just been the second shock pull, and might have been just a very lucky pull in the end. That ghost at the end, really helped him. Otherwise, he would have died from that plant there. But Foxeye securing his first place, and I think Foxeye is the one who used the shock when it happened, because he used the star in first towards the end. So I think he kind of smuggled his way up to the top. But it kind of epitomizes that track in general, how it. It can go so many different directions depending on what your items are, for sure. But like I said, that blue hitting Stevens, I think, was a blessing in disguise. Otherwise, I think he just would have, not really been able to do too much towards the end of lap 3 to get a decent spot. But in the end, it worked out. He gets fourth. Foxeye coming up, at least, with his, I think he only had 30-something points, but that first place kind of helps him get boosted up a bit into a higher position overall.
Yeah, he is 9 points back from Ajay in 7th now. So he is on the up and up, so to speak, especially because he was in around the 11th to 12th range there by race 3 or 4. So he's already tied with Azusa. So that is really good for Foxeye there. And if he can kind of recover, I'm just looking at a little bit of the chat that's taking place in the Twitch chat between Seabass, Alpaco, and Nikan. And they were just talking about the double shock. They hate the track, and that was a wild finish.
For sure. And now I think they probably might hate this track even more than Super Bowl Subway, just from its item reliance, I guess. And that's the thing about this track, is it's a bagging track, so it's more strategy with your items. But even when you have a good strategy with your items, it doesn't necessarily always go your way 100% of the time. That's where that RNG kind of aspect comes in. So it'll be interesting to see. We see one DK, one Roy running in top 2, so they're kind of gone. As you would expect, we reached the time zone in the track where people are able to pull bullet bills now. Stevens has a golden, which isn't necessarily great. He's going to obviously chain the star here, hopefully getting shock or bill. I would have used that golden immediately if it was me, because now he has to wait to use it, and I would have gotten an item this set. But we'll see what happens.
True. Yeah, he's going to opt to use it here and kind of maximize the cuts with the giant racing line. Now it's going to open him up to probably get a 2-item chain here if he can time this box correctly, and he does. He has to, let up a little bit for it, but does get 3 shrooms followed up by a star, and I believe that might be Azusa running, because Nikan is that TK right ahead of Stevens at this point.
That was he got that double. That is so good. I didn't think he was getting that double box there, but that chain is so unfortunate. I think he should have waited a bit to confirm he would even get the double box in the first place. He shouldn't use a shroom here. I don't know why he used the shroom there, because now he only has one shroom for the last 2 cuts. Hopefully he can pull triple shrooms here. I don't know what he's doing. He needs 2 shrooms. He's not going to get it. I don't
He's
think that was
not,
the
and
play. I don't
gonna
think that was
need
the play.
to. Well, this is going to be helpful at the very least with this blue shell coming in, but now he does need to get ideally a double here, or another.
I think he's being
would get
conservative holding
secondary.
this until the end.
Oh no, that's not good.
No. Those greens are going to hit a couple people, I think. He's able to get that glider barrier.
Oh,
and
but
then
he
the
gets
speed
clipped.
Gets passed
He
by
gets
like 3
clipped.
people.
He got
No.
clipped by probably Seabass, I'm guessing, and it threw him into just the side of the rock formation. I don't even know what you call that. And then it stopped his momentum, and it allowed the 3 players to glide over the top of him.
I don't think he was necessarily thinking that rationally with how he used those triple shrooms in the end. I think at the first point where I think he made his first mistake was when he chained his star that quickly into that box and only got triple shrooms in the red. I think he should have waited a couple seconds to confirm that he was getting the double box, and then get a better item like triple shrooms in the star to use to take every single cut in lap 3. But then that's not even the case until after, when he had the triple shrooms in red. He used the shrooms too early to only have 1 shroom to not be able to take the last 2 shortcuts in the end to maybe even get like 3rd or 4th in the end, and he uses it in a way where he's not able to take those shortcuts. So I don't know if that was the best play, but it almost worked out, I guess, in the end. But
yeah, I mean, hindsight's 2020, but now I'm kind of leaning towards when he had that golden shroom as well, opting to use it sooner to get that item box before the one he ultimately chained it on. That would have definitely changed his item sets a little bit, and that could have really impacted it too. We're going to the dentist, though.
I know, we're going to the dentist at race 10. So we had a bit of... Oh, we didn't do Sweet Sea Canyon, so our teeth are fine, probably.
What was just wild is this whole second half is just kind of item strategy and who can outbag who at this point. It's very fun to watch.
I know. I kind of like bagging tracks just because it is that kind of sort of strategic kind of item play, which I kind of like about this game more than I liked about 8U. And I know a lot of people hate this game because of it, but I know a lot of people like it for the fact that it's more item strategic, more big brain reliant, I guess. I don't know. But anyways, Steven's back here in 10th, which is not necessarily a bad thing, as we say. Playing in the back in FFA is super viable in any track, to be honest. Stopping at this double to confirm that double box, probably triple shroom star, or star single shroom, that's also fine, I guess. But I don't know necessarily the best bagging strategy. I think what people tend to do here is they try to farm that star all the way up into the last double where the last no item shortcut is before the glider. And you can actually use your star there and take it all the way through the shortcut. And so if you chain up the double with that star and use your star through the shortcut, you can kind of get a pretty good setup. So hopefully Stevens is able to get a star at this next set, even though he can't chain it. Kind of taking these Nisks safely. That target shot.
Just like that.
Literally.
Shock is imminent. And I chain bag here. I just love starting a little bit in the back, getting those stars, getting those triple shrooms, cutting those corners, and just continuing the cycle, and just hoping I'm in something before somebody goes for the shocker, unless you get the shock yourself.
Exactly.
It proves to be worthwhile unless you're stuck in the middle of the pack and everyone just spams their items at the end over the cut. That's really the only downfall. But
I think Stevens is still in a good position. Yeah, I think he's still in a good position because the pack is super close and he has 2 mushrooms. He should not use any of these until the very end. When he can take the shortcut. I really hope he doesn't use any of these until the very end. Taking very safe Nisks, which is fair on his part. Yep, holding the shrooms, he's going to be able to shroom to the right, I think. Yeah. Take the shortcut. He's exposed to any red shells or anything, but I think that was risky using that shroom at the very end, but it's not hit by anything and securing that second place. So well done by Stevens.
Yeah, that was very well done. I personally am not a huge fan of that shortcut yet because of my lack of confidence in it. But
fair enough.
I would have probably done the right thing. That was saving onto the shrooms, and you could have opted to see if that double was open and recirculate. But then ultimately, too, you're just so reliant on that final 2. But hey, he got second, and now I'm just trying to take a look, and I think I missed it, but that 6th place is just so crucial right now, and it's really kind of a battle for that final spot. But it's a little bit more spread out than what we saw in the previous round 1 match. So we'll have to see if these next 2 clutch clutch races can really turn someone's day around.
For sure.
So we've seen Sweet Sweet, Baby Park, Rainbow Road, Wario's Gold Mine, Bowser's Castle, Mute City, SNES Rainbow Road, Toad's Turnpike. But we're going to Mount Wario, so it doesn't matter.
Yep. Love this track. It's one of my favorite tracks in the game for sure. I think it's people meme about this all the time because I kind of made this a meme in my old team DVP. But I honestly think this is a more viable bagging track than people think. And I think the box, after the cave, when you're going into that little section where you kind of go out into the snow, there's a set there before the boost panels where when people are running the track and they're breaking away from the boost panels, their distance increases more than you because you haven't hit those boost panels. And so that box kind of gives you more broken items in general. And I don't think people know too much about that. So it kind of makes the track more viable for bagging in general. But it's also obviously a favorable running track for sure, just because of the lack of shortcuts at the beginning and the amount of coins first place is able to get very quickly.
Yeah, so we'll have to see what strategy people end up taking. Is this going to be Seabass and Stevens taking kind of like the tie for the whole shot here and the whole field behind them? So yeah, I'm not sure after this last race how big the gap was between 6th and 7th, but if you're these two guys, you got to be pretty content with how you're playing, and virtually like something catastrophic is only going to affect Stevens, Seabass. I think Audi's up there and a few of those guys at the top, but plenty of opportunity for some of those guys in 7th and 8th to really still come back here in this one.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, Steven's barely clipping that tree. That's like, so common on this track is this tree sections can be inconsistent sometimes. But who knows? Maybe hitting that tree kind of saved him from a blue shell coming up here in like a few seconds maybe. But we'll see how it goes. These triple greens are kind of scaring me though, because Ali can easily backspam Stevens with either one of the green shells he has at the moment. But I think he's trying to get the guy in first more than Stevens.
That is true.
All those green shells are now gone. Audi is in a more safe position with Foxeye not having any items. Stevens kind of maintaining a safe third with this mushroom. Hopefully he can hold this till the end. That horn is going to be huge. That horn is going to be very, very huge. Shroom here and use the horn. Oh, that's dirty. That is dirty. I think.
Oh, he got it to connect.
I think he got Foxeye there behind him. So Stevens getting second. No, Foxeye's still getting third, so he still avoids that.
That's huge for Foxeye. So Alpaco, wow, it's an 11-point gap between 6th and 7th now. That is huge. And me being dumb, I somehow was watching the delay rather than it live, so my brain is a little bit off. But yeah, so that was wild. And 11 points. I mean, it can be done. It can that gap can be broken up.
Yeah, it's still mathematically possible. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just going to be forcing some of those guys in 6th to kind of finish like 9th, 10th a little bit, and you getting a really solid finish to kind of increase your point total there. So we'll have to see exactly what happens here. Sweet Sweet Canyon, again, the pick here from Stevens, and very similar pick still coming out. Twisted Mansion now we're seeing, Grumble. We're also getting Toad's Turnpike, SNES, Baby Park, Bowser's Castle, now TikTok Clock too. We're going to SNES Rainbow Road.
Interesting track. This is a pretty good running track, I've heard. Like, if you can survive the first few turns after the first set, it's pretty easy to break away, I think. Or so I've been told. I don't know the track well enough to be able to break away super easily, personally. But
this is the final race. So actually, that 11-point gap is going to be super hard.
Yeah, I was saying it was mathematically possible, but it's going to take a lot of favorable luck in either position, I guess. I think the guy is going to have to get first, and then last place from the person who's ahead, something like that.
Yeah, basically. That's going to be a 14-point gap. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. It's a very minor, so maybe like a 2% chance.
For sure. Steven's getting trailed there, but I think what was Steven overall again? Was he like 4th or something?
I think he's at least 3rd or 4th, but that was Alpaco there that trailed Stevens, and he's just got to have a solid finish here. Obviously, he's in that 6th position, 11 points ahead of Azusa, and then followed by Foxeye. So for Alpaco, he just needs to get like a top 6 to really just cement.
Exactly. Yeah. We see Alpaco up here along with Zua X. I forget where Zua X is. I haven't really seen much of him in general in this event, to be honest. I haven't paid that much attention, I guess, to
Yeah,
how
he did a
he's
really
doing.
solid job in the 200cc solo circuit as well. He was in there.
Okay.
Blue Shell coming in
Interesting.
secondary here.
Interesting.
So obviously,
See, again, I don't know why people throw the blue shell like that, because now they're just gonna get like, even I heard Rookie talking about this. I don't see the point. Like, I think he should have held it to the set and then chained it, and now he could have gotten a better item.
oh
But
no,
regardless, he falls off and he's going back for the item. Which honestly, if he got both boxes, it would have been worth it. But now it's not worth it because he only got the one.
yeah, and that, I would have to agree there. I mean, there's no rush for the blue shell because you're able to get to that double and you can chain it anyways. But
yeah.
rushes it off. But he's going to get 11th here. Boshi kind of just stopped. I don't know why, but he's going to be bringing up the tail. But Azusa gets first. That's what he needed. And then Alpaco, though, does get fourth roughly.
That's so
that was
close.
so clutch for Alpaco to get that finish, especially when Azusa just, gets that clutch win. But unfortunately, that is going to seal the deal, 89 to 84. So it's Alpaco, Stevens there falls to fifth after that 11th. Jai, Seabass, Nikan, and Audi going to be rounding out the top six moving forward.
What a strong finish by Alpaco. At least he tried till the end until he couldn't, get it in the end, unfortunately. But it's a great FFA to watch in general. Audi getting 105, Nikan getting 102, and Seabass getting 102 in the top three, so they kind of broke away. Towards the end there, I think Ejai just was in general kind of in the front most races, so his strategy was more running than bagging, I think, which seemed to work out for him, obviously. Stevens having a very comfortable 90 points, and Alpaco following closely behind with 89. Unfortunate for Azusa, but it do be like that sometimes for sure.
Yeah, it's just rough when you're like, in that 7th, 8th position. Foxeye coming back too with that momentum off of his item play. But you got to give it to Alpaco. I mean, we didn't talk too much about him, but he played for 6th. And he did what he needed to do, was consistent there. And ultimately, that's how you move on. And, despite the fact that there is a surge from another player, in this case being Azusa, it didn't matter because his 4th place there negated any potential momentum shift that was going to come from the other side. So, the gap did shrink from 11 points to, I believe, 5 there towards the end, but very well done by Alpaco to just, have a clutch, consistent finish. And, he was pretty physical early on with Stevens in the opening laps of SNES. So good job by him to finish up in that 6th place position.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It doesn't matter, what the scores are at this moment in this round, because in the end, the score only matters in that very last round when all the placements are determined overall. So only getting 90, as you said, a conservative play style, just play enough to get you into the next round, and then it becomes more important in the finals what you get individually. So it's definitely something to think about if you are participating in this and still in the next round, for sure.
So the interesting thing is, and I'm just double checking to see what we are going to be doing. I believe we are still going to be pushing on up until the quarterfinals. So kind of looking ahead now at this point, we're going to be seeing, I believe it's Aplex was very physical in the first round. Moving on, we're going to see Kuj, Sergio, Mitch, I believe Chibi, Green, and potentially Onzi. They're moving on as well. I believe I got that right. And they're going to be met in the quarterfinals along with Tomsu, Mitch from the U.S. So we got the Battle of the Mitches, U.S. versus the Netherlands. Kokode, LMDS from Horizon, Devotee from Blizzard, Brandon from Arc. So really interesting group there that's going to meet up at the top of the hour roughly, and that is going to be for another 12 races. So again,
Cool.
top 6 from that group of 12 are going to be moving on to, well, actually, I take that back, because for the quarterfinals, they might, I don't know if they're doing that for, no, it will not be randomized. It will be reseeded. So some of these guys actually that we just saw play could actually be in this upcoming quarterfinal match. So I stand corrected. So it'd be kind of curious. It's all based off of the seedings and all that stuff. So time will tell once we hear from Rookie or Cindo what is going to be the case moving forward here at the hour.
Very good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to these upcoming rounds. I don't think I'll be around for the next cast. I think you're casting, and I think Squids is coming in.
I think so too. Yeah, doing triple duty, and I think that might be it for me for a little bit. Before I got to do a little bit more work and then potentially come back. We'll see. But yeah, I mentally got to prepare for my FFA, and Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. I haven't played too much this week because of work. Being an adult is hard, and that's the thing too. Like
Oh,
for
wait. We got a clip of me on stream. I kind of want to see why he said one for you, Sketch. I want to see what this is. All right, so I'm
so
in front of him. What's happening? He's gonna plant me or something here? I shroom up. I
might have to do with the
fire.
bomb snipe. Whoa!
Oh my god, dude. I must have screamed when that happened. That's so good.
Mid-air bomb snipes. Yeah.
That was such a
Oh,
good bomb.
yeah. We there's a crazy clip too from this tournament last week that Kyret won on Mario Circuit as well, where first place got bomb sniped, falls back to fifth. Then two people with stars get out of their stars. Literally, like it was like a three-way heat going to the finish. They both follow their stars. They both I can't make this up. They both basically got hit by reds and fell back. And then Kyret, who was in fifth, just is in the middle, just sees everyone like it was like in a war movie, when like everyone's just dying around you, yet somehow the main character's just like going through.
Yeah.
And then he just
Yeah.
crosses the line and nobody could really understand what was going on. But Mario Circuit for sure makes for some wild finishes. So
For
right
sure.
now there's another clip I think here too. This was on Cheap Cheap. Oh, top four. Nice.
See Stevens with the flexes. It's always good to have your
Yeah.
portfolio of Twitter clips at
Oh,
hand for sure.
I gotta give mad respect to anybody that plays Inkling. I'm an Inkling main.
I love Inkling. Yeah, I used to play
And
with when I worldwide. I usually use Inkling.
so get this. So Vegas internet, you can say what you want about it, but I literally was on an internet outage, and my internet just got fixed at like an hour before this cast, and I didn't even know if I was gonna be able to make it. But last night I was forced to time trial, and I was time trialing I think RPPS Royal, and I was doing better in Inkling than I was in the tryhard Waluigi Wiggler roller combo for some reason. I
Yeah, I
don't know
feel
why.
like sometimes just the combo change or the mixing it up makes you play better or whatever. It makes you focus more because you're using a new combo. I don't know. Could be something about that.
Yeah,
But
and that's another thing too is I know a lot of the players in the tournament, they have access to the tournament side of the Discord, so they have access to seeing the rooms. Some of us are at the liberty of looking and waiting for the official post to refresh. So I think that is all getting sorted right now. So I know the admins are kind of looking into that too. But I think they're definitely going to be getting the inside info before we do as to
yeah,
who's going to be moving on to this first quarterfinal.
for sure. Anyways, I think that's me for now. I gotta make dinner soon because I'm in Europe at the moment, so it's a bit later for me.
You're in
But
Europe?
yeah, I live in the United Kingdom,
Oh, I
even
didn't
though
know that.
I
Couldn't
don't
tell
have
'cause of the
the
accent.
accent. Yeah, I know. I'm just doing school here and I'm working here now, so I
Oh,
try to
what
be more.
part?
It's in Northern Ireland, so it's not in the mainland. It's by Ireland, but it's like the north part, obviously. It's still part of the UK, but it's not part of Ireland. But it's called Northern Ireland, so it's like one of
Gotcha.
the
Okay. I have to
five
go to
countries
London
there.
every now and then, so
Oh, okay, cool.
work. But yeah, very fun country. I know
Yeah,
the New Leaf guys are doing Embrace the Change out of England too.
yeah. I wanted to go to that last event in London, but I had exams or something around that time, or where I couldn't go. But I think hopefully the next one I can get a chance to go to. I think they said their next one's in like April, or they're scheduling it for April of 2020.
Oh,
So
that's a
maybe I
bummer.
can catch that one. But it's kind of far away. But I mean, I'm not going to be. I don't even think I'm going to be in the UK at that point. I'm moving to New York City in February to work, so I'm going to be in a completely different place from UK at that
Okay,
point.
solid. So just out of curiosity, Sketch, how old are you?
I am 23 years old.
Oh, okay, yeah,
So
you sound
I
older.
literally, yeah, I literally just started working in September right after school. So I was just out of school in university, so I just finished that.
Yeah,
So now
I'm
I'm part of the.
27, and I
Okay.
was just thinking because this is kind of interesting. Maybe if anyone wants to know that's listening in, but just kind of curious. So you're 23, you're working. I have an interesting job. So I'm only saying this because I'm going to get to my endpoint here. But I sell like student travel and spring break trips. So I've actually personally, I can only play normally on certain weeks, especially now with the seasonality of school and everything,
Oh yeah,
certain
yeah.
days of the week. So from being at the skill level that you're at, and obviously now like focusing more on like being an adult and functioning as a being in
Yeah.
society, how
Yeah.
how do you maintain your level of skill? Because I know for me, like there were points where I would be okay, and then I have like what they call in PH a rolling scale of skill. So I'm
Yeah.
between 4 and 6, depending on certain, you know what I mean? So I'm just kind of
Yeah.
curious
Yeah.
how you're able to do that, especially with, the standard that your team is at right now.
Yeah, so for me, it's kind of convenient at the moment being in Europe. The EU war time zone is like super convenient because it's the most active. So like for me, I work for 9 to 5, like a regular job. And then the great thing about working now is that when I get home from work, I don't have to do anything else. It's not like school with homework and stuff. So I literally have the entire evening to do whatever I want. And so when I got nothing else going on, that's like usually the most active war hours is around, I think, 8 o'clock for me, 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. So like right after dinner, I can at least play one war, like usually almost every day, which is pretty good. So I think just maintaining being able to play at least once per day like that, or not even once per day, at least like a few times per week, you're able to keep up that skill level, I guess, at least. And so it kind of worked out with my scheduling in terms of what I'm doing for work during the day. And when I come home from work, everyone's, here at the same time, able to war. So it just kind of works out. Because if I was in a different time zone, it wouldn't necessarily work out as well because I'd get home from work and either there'd be like no wars going on at that time or like no one else would be home. So I think when I go back to New York City, actually, it's going to be a bit harder just because when I get home from work at like 6:30 or 6 or whatever it's going to be, it's only going to be or it's going to be way later in Europe, and everyone's going to be going to bed at that point, and so I'm not really going to have the opportunity to play. So I think it just kind of works out with where my situation is at the moment, where I'm able to play a lot. But I think in February when I move, I'm not going to be able to play too much like as I currently am now. So it'll be more of a weekend thing. But I think it's just how the scheduling worked out is how I'm able to keep up with everything going on for sure.
Very well
If
said.
that makes
So
sense.
it does. And I think there's a lot going on right now. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to take a quick break from the stream. We're going to be right back, though. We're going to be following Devotee here for the quarterfinals. So that will just be something to make note of. But we will see you guys here in just a quick second, and we'll be back following Devotee. And Squids will also be back here in the booth as well.
All right. See you guys.